Sabrina Schwartner, and I'm a candidate in the Educational Leadership Program at Lamar University. I have observed a colleague's classroom through the eyes of an administrator. While observing the classroom, I was noting the teacher's attention to instructional strategies, differentiated instruction, and her students' engagement. I observed Miss Vincent, a first grade teacher on my campus. She is a fourth-year teacher and has always taught first grade. Before observing her classroom, I met with Miss Vincent to discuss what I would be observing. She thoroughly explained to me her expectations and her timeline for that particular lesson. She also explained to me that she would use whole group direct instruction, the use of academic vocabulary, lecture, and hands-on learning as her instructional strategies. She also explained how she would differentiate for her different types of learners. She was going to allow them to work with groups to collaborate and find the correct answers on several parts of the lesson. By using all the different instructional strategies and differentiated instructions, she hoped she could reach all of her students to help them master the particular skills being taught. To monitor student engagement, she would allow students to create numbers and answer questions regularly. She would call on each student to make sure he or she was understanding the skills. Miss Vincent also informed me that she begins each lesson with a review of the previous skill to build on and make a stable foundation for learning. Miss Vincent told me that she would assess her students at the end of the lesson with a simple cut and paste activity. Instead of introducing the greater than or less than symbols on the first day, she stated that she would use the words more and less to better help the students first understand the concept. She was extremely detailed when preparing me for her lesson. She told me that she would review the TEK 1.2c on place value and begin to introduce the TEK 1.2g on comparing numbers. I knew exactly what I was going to observe and what the skills that the student should be able to understand by the end of the lesson.
Sit down on your bottom like a first grader. Hey, are we going to draw on our board at first? No, we have to finish our work and then we'll 20 plus how many ones do you have? Equals. What's your number? Alright, who can give me the next number? Anthony.
apples do you have now, Moby?
30.
You picked
That's not
13
30.
apples? The number 13 comes after 7 on a 100 chart. That means 13 is greater than 7. It also means that 7 is less than 13. So now you have more apples, Moby. How do you compare bigger numbers? Mia picked 20 apples. Who has more? You or Mia? When you compare bigger numbers, you should compare the numbers in the highest place value first.
So look at these numbers, 13 and 20. They both have 2 digits. They both have some 10s and they both have some 1s. Whenever you do numbers like this with big numbers like this, always look at your tens place first. 13 has 1 10 and 20 has 2 10s. Okay? Which one's bigger, 1 or 2? Joanna? 2. So you don't even have to go to your ones to figure out that 20
Miss Vincent's first grade class. I was very impressed with what I saw during her lesson. As she began her lesson, she made sure each and every student was paying attention. She had previously passed out dry erase boards for her review portion of the lesson. To begin reviewing, she asked students to raise their hand if they wanted to volunteer. She asked them to create a number of their own that they could show by modeling with base 10 blocks and to write it in expanded form. Most every student was extremely eager to be the volunteer. She called on several different students, and each of them created a different number. Each time a new number was put on the board, she had the students draw a model and write it in expanded form on their dry erase board. She would walk around the classroom and have students raise their boards in the air to assure that they got the correct answer. In the event that the student did not have it correctly written on their board, she knelt down beside their desk and walked them through it step by step. This reassured the student that they were going about it correctly. It also gave several struggling students that one-on-one instruction that they may have needed. I was extremely impressed by the way she was allowing students to use their dry erase boards to change their everyday pencil and paper style. Sometimes changing up your routine can engage students more. She also had students explain and say what they had written on their boards. This showed engagement and understanding of the skill. After completing the review portion of her lesson, Miss Vincent went on to introduce the new TEK on comparing numbers. She first began by integrating technology and showing the process of greater than and less than with the Brain Pop Junior video. This caught the attention of her students, and each one of them was very engaged. Throughout the video, she would pause it and ask questions to make sure the students were involved and comprehending. I also loved the way that she didn't even mention the greater than or less than symbol on the first day of the introduction. She began introducing the skill by saying the words more and less. She instructed the class in a whole group lecture way to begin the introduction of the lesson. I also noticed the use of academic vocabulary as she was speaking to the students about the new skill. Once she completed the introduction to the lesson and showed several different examples on the board, she had the students work on a guided practice worksheet. The worksheet was filled with different animals, and they were expected to count them. Once the students counted the animals, they had to cut and paste the words more or less by the correct answer. Not only did she guide the students in correctly placing these words, she also took this as an opportunity to review their scissor cutting skills and reinforced it doing it the right way. I loved that her students were all on task my entire visit. Miss Vincent constantly walked around to monitor her students and make sure they were completing the assignment correctly. When she would pass a student that was looking off task or confused, she would stop or redirect them. One of the students was struggling, so she knelt down beside her. They counted the animals together, and Miss Vincent guided her through the process of understanding more or less. The student was then able to decide where to correctly place the words. After watching the entire lesson and observing the teacher and her students, I felt confident that this teacher understands and knows what it means to be an effective teacher. She not only showed an understanding for the academic side of the classroom, but she also provided the students with a structured and well-maintained classroom. I felt that Miss Vincent was beyond prepared for the lesson and had previously studied and understood what the TEK required for her students to learn and understand. During the lesson and guided practice, she used attention getters and different strategies to bring the class back together. I saw students stay on task because of these strategies. She constantly redirected those students who struggled to stay on task and complete their assignment. It was a very appropriate way of redirecting considering the age of her students. I did, however, sit right beside a young man that was constantly off task and trying to disrupt the students around him. I saw Miss Vincent look at him several times, and she knew he was off task as well. I understand that a teacher knows her students and understands what is best for her classroom. He may act this way every day. I was just in there one day for 40 minutes. She already knew how he behaved and had already previously told me about him and that she moved his seat near students that understood and picked up things quickly. That way, he wasn't distracting someone that often struggles. Those students around him never got off task, nor pay attention to his disruptive behavior. I commend those students for being so well behaved and on task. The only negative thing that I could find in regards to her class and her instruction was the ending to the lesson. I think it is so very important to bring students back together and end a lesson with some sort of exit ticket to check for understanding. It is important to see where your students are in the understanding of the skill so that you know where to begin the next day or the next lesson. The exit ticket shows that understanding of the student. It could be a simple one-question task to see if the students mastered what was taught that day. I saw a guided worksheet and the students were definitely understanding the worksheet, but a simple exit ticket could have been beneficial to Ms. Vincent's knowledge of where her students are. In conclusion to my observation, I was overly impressed with the instruction and the structure of her classroom. Ms. Vincent would have received a good observation from our administration during this lesson. She maintained a well-organized and learner-central classroom. It was very apparent that her students so early in the year had already understood her rules and ways of doing things. Her students completed everything in a timely and well-ordered way. She portrays an educator that not only enjoys what she does, but understands what it takes to be an efficient and effective teacher.